he was touched with much compunction, and said, Surely this strange carriage of the town of Mansoul doth rather arise from ignorance of the manner and feats of war, than from a secret defiance of us, and abhorrence of their own lives. Or if they know the manner of the war of their own, yet not the rites and ceremonies of the wars in which we are concerned, when I make wars upon mine enemy Diabolus. Therefore he sent to the town of Mansoul, to let them know what he meant by those signs and ceremonies of the flag, and also to know of them which of the things they would choose, whether grace and mercy, or judgment and the execution of judgment. All this while they kept their gates shut with locks, bolts, and bars as fast as they could. Their guards also were doubled, and their watch made as strong as they could. Diabolus also did pluck up what heart he could to encourage the town to make resistance. The townsmen also made to answer to the prince's messenger in substance according to that which follows. Great sir, as to what by your messenger you have signified to us, whether we will accept of your mercy, or fall by your justice, we are bound by the law and custom of this place, and can give you no positive answer. For it is against the law, government, and the prerogative royal of our king, to make either peace or war without him. But this we will do. We will petition that our prince will come down to the wall, and there give you such treatment as he shall think fit and profitable for us. When the good Prince Emmanuel heard this answer, and saw the slavery and bondage of the people, and how much content they were to abide in the chains of the tyrant Diabolus, it grieved him at the heart, and indeed when at any time he perceived that any were contented under the slavery of the giant, he would be affected with it. But to return again to our purpose. After the town had carried this news to Diabolus, and had told him, moreover, that the prince, that lay in the leaguer without the wall, waited upon them for an answer, he refused and huffed as well as he could, but in heart he was afraid. Then said he, I will go down to the gates myself, and give him such an answer as I think fit. So he went down to Mouthgate, and there addressed himself to speak to Emmanuel, but in such language as the town understood not, the contents whereof were as follow. O thou great Emmanuel, Lord of all the world, I know thee that thou art the Son of the great Shaddai. Wherefore art thou come to torment me, and to cast me out of my possession? This town of Mansoul, as thou very well knowest, is mine, and that by a twofold right. One, it is mine by right of conquest. I won it in the open field, and shall the prey be taken from the mighty, or the lawful captive to be delivered? 2. This town of Mansoul is mine also by the subjection. They have opened the gates of their town unto me. They have sworn fidelity to me, and have openly chosen me to be their king. They have also given to their castle into my hands, yea, they have put the whole strength of Mansoul under me. Moreover, this town of Mansoul hath disavowed thee, yea, they have cast thy law, thy name, thy image, and all that is thine behind their back, and have accepted and set up in their room my law, my name, my image, and all that ever is mine. Ask else thy captains, and they will tell thee that Mansoul hath, in answer to all their summonses, shown love and loyalty to me, but always disdain, despite, contempt, and scorn to thee and thine. Now thou art the just one and the holy, and shouldst do no iniquity. Depart then, I pray thee, therefore, from me, and leave me to my just inheritance peaceably. This oration was made in the language of Diabolus himself, for although he can to every man speak in their own language, else he could not tempt them all as he does, yet he has a language proper to himself, and it is the language of the infernal cave, or black pit. Wherefore the town of Mansoul, poor hearts, understood him not, nor did they see how he crouched and cringed while he stood before Emmanuel their prince. Yea, they all this while took him to be one of that power and force that by no means could be resisted. Wherefore, while he was thus entreating that he might have yet his residence there, and that Emmanuel would not take it from him by force, the inhabitants boasted even of his valour, saying, Who is able to make war with him? Well, when this pretended king had made an end of what he would say, Emmanuel, the Golden Prince, stood up and spake. The contents of whose words follow. Thou deceiving one, said he, I have in my father's name, in mine own name, and on the behalf and for the good of this wretched town of Mansoul, somewhat to say unto thee. Thou pretendest a right, a lawful right, to the deplorable town of Mansoul, when it is most apparent to all my father's court that the entrance which thou hast obtained in at the gates of Mansoul was through thy lie and falsehood. Thou beliedst my father, thou beliedst his law, and so deceivest the people of Mansoul. Thou pretendest that the people have accepted thee for their king, their captain, and right liege lord, but that also was by the exercise of deceit and guile. Now if lying, wiliness, sinful craft, and all manner of horrible hypocrisy will go in my father's court, in which court thou must be tried, for equity and right, then will I confess unto thee that thou hast made a lawful conquest. But alas, what thief, what tyrant, what devil is there that may not conquer after this sort? But I can make it appear, O Diabolus, that thou, in all thy pretences to a conquest of Mansoul, hast nothing of truth to say. Thinkest thou this to be right, that thou didst put the lie upon my father, and madest him to Mansoul the greatest deluder in the world? And what sayest thou to thy perverting knowingly the right purport and intent of the law? Was it good also that thou madest a prey of the innocency and simplicity of the now miserable town of Mansoul? Yea, thou didst overcome Mansoul, by promising to them happiness in their transgressions against my father's law, when thou knewest and couldest not but know, hadst thou consulted nothing but thine own experience, that that was the way to undo them. Thou hast also thyself, O thou master of enmity, of spite defaced my father's image in Mansoul, and set up thy own in its place, to the great contempt of my father, the heightening of thy sin, and to the intolerable damage of the perishing town of Mansoul. Thou hast, moreover, as if all these were but little things with thee, not only deluded and undone this place, but by thy lies and fraudulent carriage hast set them against their own deliverance. How hast thou stirred them up against my father's captains, and made them to fight against those that were sent of him to deliver them from their bondage? All these things, and very many more, thou hast done against thy light, and in contempt of my father and of his law, yea, and with design to bring under his displeasure for ever the miserable town of Mansoul. I am therefore come to avenge the wrong that thou hast done to my father, and to deal with thee for the blasphemies wherewith thou hast made poor Mansoul blaspheme his name. Yea, upon thy head, thou prince of the infernal cave, will I requite it. As for myself, O Diabolus, I am come against thee by lawful power, and to take, by strength of hand, this town of Mansoul out of thy burning fingers, for this town of Mansoul is mine, O Diabolus, and that by undoubted right, as all shall see that will diligently search the most ancient and most authentic records, and I will plead my title to it, to the confusion of thy face. First, for the town of Mansoul, my father built and did fashion it with his hand. The palace also that is in the midst of that town, he built it for his own delight. This town of Mansoul therefore is my father's, and that by the best of titles, and he that gainsays the truth of this must lie against his soul. Secondly, O thou master of the lie, this town of Mansoul is mine. One, for that I am my father's heir, his firstborn, and the only delight of his heart. I am therefore come up against thee in mine own right, even to recover mine own inheritance out of thine hand. 2. But further, as I have a right and title to Mansoul by being my father's heir, so I have also by my father's donation. His it was, and he gave it me. Nor have I at any time offended my father, that he should take it from me and give it to thee. Nor have I been forced, by playing the bankrupt, to sell or set to sale to thee my beloved town of Mansoul. Mansoul is my desire, my delight, and the joy of my heart. But 3. Mansoul is mine by right of purchase. I have bought it, O Diabolus. I have bought it to myself. Now since it was my father's and mine, and I was his heir, and since also I have made it mine by virtue of a great purchase, it followeth that, by all lawful right, the town of Mansoul is mine, and that thou art an usurper, a tyrant, and traitor, in thy holding possession thereof. Now the cause of my purchasing of it was this: Mansoul had trespassed against my father. Now my father had said that in the day that they broke his law they should die. Now it is more possible for heaven and earth to pass away,